What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 65. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911, and today I am joined once again by Kev. Yeah, that's right, he's back. We lied to you that episode that happened a while ago where you said he was leaving, but he's here!
We didn't know.
Who's
to say?
Who's to say what happens nowadays? You know, fucking the
Life
world's on
throws you.
fire.
Life throws you a curveball.
Yeah.
And just like in baseball, more than likely I will strike out.
Ooh.
So, swing and a miss. We're back, though.
We are.
We're happy
We're still
about
swinging.
it.
Oh, boy.
Heading back for batting practice.
Always got to get that practice in. You can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma911 every first and third Saturday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern, unless we record prematurely like we are today. But you can catch it over there. Join in the chat. Join on the conversation with us. We'd love to have you. If you can't catch it live, it's over on YouTube.com and SoundCloud.com in full MP3 and video the following Friday. Last but not least, this show is brought to you by the merch store. You can get all of your swag over there. T-shirts, cups, backpacks, and more. Rep the brand. Support us. It'd be greatly appreciated. So yes, we are pre-recording today because I might be gone on the actual day. But once again, who is to say that's going to be the catchphrase of this fucking episode?
Life might throw him a curveball.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah, so we're just going to go fucking right into topic one. The world's on fire right now because we got the coronavirus. And no, not the beer, and I don't want to hear the lime jokes and yada yada. Everything's fucked.
You just took away half my dad joke.
Damn it! Spoiled it.
My humor is more of a dad humor, so...
Yeah, I should have known.
It's alright.
But yeah, I just wanted to talk about it, and, like... I have a big question that I want to save for later, but, like... What is going on? Like... As of recording this podcast... NBA season's canceled. NHL canceled. MLB postponed, canceled, whatever the fuck.
Delayed, yeah.
WrestleMania 36, literally maybe an hour ago, is still going on, but in an empty arena in the Performance Center.
Yeah.
I think you're not allowed to have gatherings of 50 or more people.
Yeah.
It's recommended now, don't have more than 10 people in an area.
Yeah.
Domestic travel is recommended against. International travel is pretty much banned. It's everywhere, right? As of today.
As of now, it's definitely Europe,
Yep.
including the UK and Ireland
Yep.
and Iceland, obviously, and then other hard hit areas in particular like Iran, probably Japan, Korea, China, because they're the initial.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were the first hit by China's, which despite what they're saying, it did start in China as far as we know, so that's just a fact, but seeing a lot of people say, oh no, they didn't start it. It's like, well, yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So there's that. Anything else big I'm missing? It's been kind of like shut down. Movies are being postponed production-wise.
And releases have been postponed. Every major, like you said, every major sporting league in this country has been canceled.
Yeah. Recently today, like, at least for New York, they have, like, a curfew on things. Like,
yeah,
they have to close at 8. You can still do, like, takeout and delivery, but you can't go there and stay. Like, you can't sit down anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know the specifics of it, but there's that. Schools, we didn't mention schools.
Yeah. Schools
are canceled, whether it's college and kids, like, and it's weird, because, like, our districts are all different. Like, some are 2 weeks. Ballston Spa's, like, not till April 20th they can go back to school.
Like, yeah, and I think, like, some schools were putting, let's say, like, today is the 15th? They were
16th.
16th. They were saying, 16th to the 20th, because that would be this week. And I think they were saying that in the hopes that, every day this whole situation is changing, and we're finding out more or we're finding out less. So I think some schools are saying, like, let's start with a week, we'll reevaluate, and then some schools are like, screw it, just to be safe, we're saying a month.
See, I haven't seen any that said a week. I've seen 2, like I said, Boston Spa's not till April 20th. Like,
yeah.
That's a whole thing. But yeah, I could see like the ride it out thing, because I mean that's a big adjustment for anybody. Like Billy was telling me how obviously he's in college and he's got the online thing now. Like they were supposed to go in Thursday, Friday, figure out like what they were doing, what paperwork they needed, or yada yada, and then they didn't go to classes those days because they got canceled. And, like, their teachers don't even know what's going on. Like, they send an email. They're like, yeah, this thing. It's just weird.
Yeah. And, the thing that I got concerned with, actually, after speaking to some other folks about, like, the school districts closing is if we ever had a bad winter when we were kids in school, and let's say we used 5 snow days and the school had 4 budgeted, we had to stay an extra day later in the summer because we went beyond what we were allotted.
Right.
We are now well past that, so our kids going to have to stay in school until July.
Right.
And then sometimes, too, like the funding that schools get from the state or from the federal government also is kind of portioned out for when the schools are in session. So if they do get pushed back into the summer, like how does that work with the various fundings and like grants and stuff? I don't know. And this is kind of uncharted territory because in our lives, I don't remember there ever having been a huge, large-scale cancellation for more. I think the most I ever had between here or growing up in Old Forge was maybe 2 snow days in a row. Maybe. I think that's the most I can remember. This is pretty significant.
Like unplanned, yeah.
Right.
Because like we've had Christmas breaks that were like almost 2 weeks.
But, yeah. I mean, like, the school says we were supposed to be open today. We're canceling. I don't think
for sure
I've ever seen more than 2 snow days in a row.
No.
I get it though. I mean, people are, especially when, like, one of the big things, not to create panic, is one of the big things they do say is, typically speaking, our age group is fine.
Right.
Typically speaking.
Right.
But then the other big concern is, the elderly or people that have other health conditions. And I've known a lot of people our age that for something happens, maybe there's an accident or whatever, they go to the doctor and then they find out they had an underlying condition. Like some doctor just discovers something randomly because they went in. So, like, the concern is, like, you don't even know if potentially you have something that could... Like, I had an uncle, this is weird, a couple of years ago, he was going in for an elective surgery on his knees, to have his knees replaced. And after he's got his surgery, and he goes in for, like, the first, like, follow-up appointment, the doctor looks at him and goes, "Oh, how long have you been a diabetic?" And my uncle's like,
"What?
Diabetic?" And it was, like, it was known by a doctor of his previously, but then they, like... Maybe somebody lost a form or something and they never told him. And he only knew because he went in for that
knee surgery.
So, I mean, I'm not saying diabetes. I don't know enough to say, like, diabetes is something that would... But, like, that's just an example. Like, either one of us could have something we don't know underneath the surface. It's not affecting us now, but...
Could.
So, I get it. And the thing is, let's say you and I, we have no underlying health conditions. More than likely, we're going to walk around without knowing we have it.
Right.
But how many people do you encounter in your day that aren't that fortunate? People with underlying conditions, the elderly, and it's like, you don't want to be the guy who doesn't know any better and gives it to other people. Like that lawyer from New Rochelle, New York, just north of the city. He didn't even know he had it, and he's walking around meeting people. He's going about his day. He's doing nothing wrong. And I know the media has been trying to make him out to be this bad guy. Like, if you don't know you're sick,
right?
You don't have like a microscope where you can go, yeah, look at that, I got something.
Exactly.
But this poor guy is walking around, and people have been getting sick because they met him. And I know me personally, I don't know this guy, but if this was me, obviously I don't think it's his fault. But I know, like, even if I knew it wasn't my fault, let's say my grandmother died, I'm going to feel terrible because to me it's going to seem like I killed her, and that's not the case. You didn't know. Now, there was one guy that knew he was sick and was tested positive, and he got, like, on a plane or something. Like, you're a tool. Yeah. At that point, you are the a-hole we're all worried about, you know? So, I get the fear. I think everybody thinks if we all kind of retreat, the people that have it right now are isolated, the rest of us stay away, when they get better, now maybe there's less chance. Like, we're letting the virus die in containment. Mm-hmm. So I get it, but at the same time, some of the stuff struck me as, like, wow, we're really going after this. Like, we're really trying to...
Yeah, and I think that leads into my, like, big question, quote-unquote, is, like, out of all the shit we've dealt with, not us personally, but we as a society have dealt with, why is this the big one that, like, not mass panic, that's a little dramatic, but, like, it's going to this extent? Like, obviously growing up, we heard of other problems, like, and diseases, but, like, it was, like, out there, but it was, like, we never had anything like this. I'm just, like, curious. Is it just because we're so in the dark of, like, how to take care of it? Or...
I think you got a lot of things going on, because when we were in high school, the big one was the swine flu.
Right.
And the swine flu, in terms of the number of people that had it versus the number of people that died from it, mm-hmm. was a much bigger thing than what this is. Like, I think in the U.S. we had like 1,000+ deaths from swine flu. Mm-hmm. Right now with, I think we're into the range of like a couple thousand cases in the U.S. of coronavirus. Mm-hmm. I think we have about 55 to 60, unless that number's changed, that have been deaths. And it's typically the super elderly or the people that have health conditions. Mm-hmm. I think there's a couple of things you have to look at. Is we are, as a world, we are growing increasingly reliant on each other. Mm-hmm. So, like, if this had happened 50 years ago, there was a lot less travel, a lot less business being done across, country boundaries. So the chances of diseases like this moving around were typically much smaller. Mm-hmm. You think about everything you buy in a store right now is from China. Now, I'm not saying that means you go to the store and you buy like a Chinese toy, you're getting coronavirus, but it just shows that greater increase in that relationship of business and trade where people are flying back and forth. Mm. And with stuff like diseases, we're always playing catch up, because like I remember when this first got to the U.S., there was like a couple of people in Seattle, like maybe one person in San Diego, and they were like, okay, like this is okay. We'll just,
put you aside.
And they said like, we're going to have these 5 airports we're going to funnel people coming from like China into these airports. We'll test them, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, there are people getting sick from the disease that, as far as anybody can tell, had no contact with people that were sick.
Right.
So I think that's when people start getting scared. Like, wait, like if I had it and then I talk to you and then you get sick, that makes sense. But for you to be here without ever having met me, for you to get sick, people are like, oh, mm-hmm. oh. Plus, the other thing is too, you look at the media. I'm not blaming any one side or anything, but my parents watch a lot of news, so when I'm over with them, I see a lot of the news. Mm-hmm. And some of the networks are trying to be factual and point out, like, look, this many people have it, this many people have died, the people that have died have largely been from these groups. We don't think this is going to be necessarily like a bubonic plague or something. Mm-hmm. But then you had some groups, some media, where they're just like, ties like to the side, like we're all doomed, and you got to remember this is an election year.
Yeah.
And what bothers me right now is that people on both sides are using this as a time to get points. It's like, just stop. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're the person in office, your job is to serve the people, protect the people, maintain their welfare. And if you're too busy sniping at other politicians from across the aisle, you're not doing your job of protecting your people.
Right.
Now, I've seen some really good things where, like, I know the governor of California is, from the Democratic Party, he's a little farther left, and then he's dealing with the White House for coordination, and obviously Trump is not from that side of the argument, and yet when this governor was on TV, he's like, I'm working with the vice president and the president, They've said all the things I wanted them to say, in terms of federal aid and stuff, kept it at that. And it's like, good. This is how it should be. This is not a time to be, getting your points, getting your shots in. Let's mm-hmm. just all agree we need to do what we need to do to keep as many people safe as we can. And we'll get back to the, punching each other in the face when this is over. Mm-hmm. But as to why, like, I don't know if there is any one reason why.
Yeah, you mentioned the media. I talked about with Jeff last podcast, like we were talking fandoms, which is obviously totally different train of thought than what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
But we talked about like social media. Like, has that blown up the fandoms to make everybody more vocal? Like, is that the thing here too? Like, obviously, like people are making jokes about it and memes about it, and then there's all the like you said as well, people reporting facts or reporting this and that. Is like, is it that too? Like, we're just getting overload of information, so people don't know 100% what to believe or what's facts. That like, what's going on? Like, just all this stuff.
You know, and the crazy thing is, every year we have the flu.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, last year in the U.S., I think they said, I could be wrong on the number, it was about 18,000 people that died of the flu. The flu is usually pretty nasty.
Right.
And it kills people from all
wide
groups.
range, yeah.
You know, it's not just the elderly. There's kids. There's, like, actually this year, RPI had a student who was 20-something, and he died of the flu. And this is the age group where most of us usually are able to weather sickness pretty well. We're young. So it seems like it's kind of ironic to me that with this, they're reminding people, like, hey, because this is such a potential problem, wash your hands, hand sanitizer. If you don't have to be out in public, maybe try and limit your time out in public, which is what we should be doing during the flu season anyway, with that being such a big thing. And it's like we were talking about planes. They were like showing all these videos, like the airlines are putting out videos about how they're spraying down the airplanes and blah blah blah, and I'm sitting there going, that's great, but what were you doing before?
Yeah.
We've all, if you've been on an airplane, you kind of feel gross when you get off, right?
Yeah.
Like there's somebody in the seat behind you that sounds like they're about to cough up a lung. You got kids crapping in diapers around you, and you get off and you just feel gross. Like the first thing I do when I get off a plane and I'm home or at a hotel, I go and hit the shower right away. I wash my clothes. I'm like, I don't know what. And you're trying to find your seatbelt and you reach down and there's like food in the crack, and I'm like, this is great that the airlines are doing all this cleaning, but why haven't they been doing this before? Why is this not just standard practice?
It's so weird that, like, sometimes it has to be that way. Like, something has to go wrong before you realize, oh, wait, yeah, we should do that thing.
And as soon as this is gone, whenever this coronavirus goes away, the airlines aren't going to be doing all that cleaning anymore. Yeah. And it's like, why don't you just maintain that vigilance? But, funny story of that, my uncle was up at the house for dinner the other night, and he used to work for a pharmaceutical company back years ago, and he used to do a lot of cross-country traveling because the company was based out of, like, Northern California, and he obviously lives here. And one of the things he was saying was back then, you know, when you would catch a plane to be flying across the country, the planes weren't as packed. That plane that you were getting on had probably been at the airport for like 4 or 5 hours just sitting around. But the airlines are obviously trying to make a profit, so they're squeezing as many people on planes as possible, and they have fewer planes. So you now have your plane lands, people get off, people go around real quick, do a quick cleanup, and then you're boarding again. And so, you know, back when they used to have 4 or 5 hours, they used to replace like the cushion that your head would be on, or like the what do they call those? Yeah. And you know, again, it's like people are trying to look at the profit margin over anything else. They make decisions, and the next thing you know, we have planes that are basically cattle cars, and then people wonder why everybody gets sick on a plane. And I don't know. It is weird, and the thing that cracks me up is I've looked at all the symptoms of coronavirus and everything, and I go to the store, and the first thing out is toilet paper.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Like, tissues would make total sense to me. Hand sanitizer makes total sense to me. Antibacterial hand soap, I get. Toilet paper? There's nothing about coronavirus that I've seen anybody say where it makes you poop more or anything. And I'm sitting there like, my apartment ran out of toilet paper a little bit. And I go to the store and I'm like, where's all the toilet paper gone, man? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of rude that, like, I went to Hannaford a couple days ago, and you see people coming out with carts that from the bottom to the top are stocked with every food item possible. You go down the aisle and you can't find anything. And it's kind of rude, but at the same time, it's human nature where we're, like, so concerned with ourselves that we don't care that somebody else that might need something that we're only buying, not because we need now, but because we'll think we'll need in a couple weeks.
Right.
Now that person can't... I don't know. It's just kind of weird. And, like, I know my parents were going store to store because they needed some toilet paper at the house, just normal stock up.
Yeah.
Not a like we're trying to hoard.
Yeah.
And we went to all these stores in the area, can't find anything. Finally, my dad and I were up at Lake George the other day, and he was like, you know what, just run into the grocery store in Bolton Landing, because we figure there's less people and whatever. And I walk in, and they've got, like, single roll of toilet paper you could buy, and I'm like, I guess we'll have to grab them some of these. And there was, like, a 2-roll limit or something. And this lady, though, came up to me in the aisle, and she goes, would you like one of these? And she had 2, like, 4-packs of, like, nice toilet paper. And I was like, well, if you don't mind. She's like, no, of course not. Like, if you need it, here. And she gave it to me. I'm like, okay, nice human being.
Right.
But then you see all these folks with, like, basically what amounted to a Mack truck of like food, and I'm like, come on, guys, like, you're just making this worse. You're feeding the hysteria, because now the media goes to the grocery stores and they're like, look at these empty shelves, and more people are like, I need to get there before it's all out. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And, like, you talked about hand sanitizer. You see in New York's making their own hand sanitizer now?
Well, and being New York, we couldn't even just do that. We had to mess up how we were doing it, because they're like, oh, where are we making all this hand sanitizer? Like, we're having the prisoners make it in the prisons. And then they're like, are you paying them? And they're like, not
65
really.
cents an hour. Or
and now we're having a debate on whether inmates in our prisons should be making minimum wage and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God.
I didn't see any update. Like, I remember the first announcement of it, and I was like, wow, 65 cents, Jesus Christ. But, like, that argument, personally, no. Like, I get more than 65 cents, but, like, they're fucking in there for a reason. That's a whole other topic.
Well, yeah, and you know what I mean? It's like, all right, let's just assume your average state medium to max security. These aren't nice guys. Typically, they've done something where everybody was like, whoa, we got to put this guy away for a while, right? Like, are you really worried that a serial killer isn't making minimum wage as he's making hand sanitizer? That's your big concern?
But then he's going to kill me, Kevin, because he's going to remember that I didn't pay him.
I mean, like, look, obviously I don't think people in the prison system shouldn't be taken care of. Obviously, they're, like, the state is responsible for them, but, like, paying them $15 an hour when you have guys working, like, jobs that haven't done anything wrong aren't making that? Like,
yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry, I'm playing the world's smallest violin here, you know, like...
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know. It's a really weird moment in time. Like, you look at, like, past world pandemics. Like, after World War I, there was a really strong flu that, like, wiped out a lot of people. I would get the hysteria there. I think, I'm not saying to take coronavirus lightly. I don't think you should do that at all, especially when you consider how many people in your life could be at risk. But what I'm saying is just do the stuff you should have been doing for flu anyway.
Yeah.
Wash your hands. You know, don't be in the subway and then start shoving a hot dog down your mouth without washing your hands. Like, these are common hygiene principles. And if you're, like, thinking about going to a movie and you're like, I don't really know if I want to see that or not, well, then
you don't have to go out.
Maybe take into consideration staying home, doing something else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not... it kind of stinks for the temporary time, but if everybody kind of just not withdraws, but lowers their public profile a little bit for a little while, maybe we push through this a little quicker.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
That's my thought too. Like, I'm not saying we need to be in this big panic, but yeah, I think, like, if people are in this mode where, like, oh, it's not that big a deal, like, I was definitely that way, and then obviously kind of the ball got rolling. I was like, oh, yeah. Okay. Like, there's still people going out and doing things, and I just don't want that to, like you said, cause this to make it go longer. Like, if
Right.
we can all understand, like, it's not the end of the world, but, like you said, slow down a little bit, yeah, maybe it'll blow over quicker, and then, yeah, we can get back to going out to amusement parks and sporting events and whatever.
Well, it's, I mean, like, I don't really know what movies are out right now, but, I mean, if there's a movie you really want to see right now, and there's any bit of you that's wondering if you should go or not, it'll be out on the internet to stream in a couple months anyway. You know, I mean, like, going to see a movie, if you choose not to go see it, your life is not going to end.
Yeah, I mean...
However, if you do go, and somebody around you is sick, and you bring it home, I don't know. I mean, it just seems smart just to... Don't buy into the panic, don't buy into hysteria, don't go to the grocery store and buy out a whole shelf. But, you know, just be smart. Think big term. If it's a movie or something you want to go see or whatever, just dial back a little bit.
Yeah.
And if it's a Fast and the Furious movie, just absolutely never go to see it.
He's calling back to the pre-show.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what else you can really say about it. I mean, it's just...
It's weird. It's
weird
times.
Like, cause, like, you know, you don't wanna say anything that belittles this.
Mm-hmm.
Because you think about it, right now in the country, there are almost 60 families that have lost somebody for this. That's quite a few people that now have a personal understanding of what this can be.
And that's just our own country. Like, we haven't even touched on Italy and Germany. Yeah. Like, obviously, they're
just
fucked at the moment.
I mean, yeah, you had, was it yesterday? Like, over 300 people die in Italy in 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's 300 families now.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you don't want to belittle it, but you also want to be realistic and say if I'm smart, if I follow basic hygiene principles, and everybody else in society does this, we all lower our chances. So it's like take it seriously, but don't make it where you're in like a safe room in your house with like a straw going out to like a mile in the air to get clean air. I mean, it's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like, it's like every single channel is talking about this. I turn on the weather channel just to find out if it's going to rain today, and it's like, what's the effect of coronavirus with the weather? And I'm like, what? Why? What?
And it gets like, it's so, like, it's bad to say, but it gets so annoying. It's like, I get it. Well, move on.
And this is actually the huge problem with the news today. Like, when our parents were kids, there was like a half-hour block at night where they had like a national news. Like when they were kids, it was that Walter Cronkite guy, and that was your news.
Yeah.
And then if you ever, if you ever got like this just in breaking news bulletin, back then you knew this is like, oh, this is the
time.
Well, I'm sitting in the airport, they've got CNN on, and it's like every 5 minutes breaking news, and it's usually nothing actually.
It's like an updated quote that you just heard 2 minutes ago from the guy talking.
Well, and it's like they used to teach us something in science class in high school that like if you're in a parking lot and somebody's car alarm starts going off, you're looking to see what car. Yeah. But then once it's been on for a couple minutes and it's you forget, you habituate to where it doesn't even register, it's still going off. This is what the news is doing. Instead of making everybody in America realize how serious this is, now you have people who are like, oh my God, enough of this coronavirus, like whatever, you know, and then like, they're doing themselves a disservice. I don't know. It's like this 24 hours, we always have to be shoving breaking news in your face. When I see breaking news now, I don't stop what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal. It's almost like, I don't know if it's the right phrasing, but like boy cries wolf. Like, if you just keep saying it, like, nobody's gonna believe you that it's this big deal per se. Like, okay, for example, when like you're listening to the radio or the TV and they do that wah, like they go, oh, this is the emergency weather update or what the fuck, like that, you're like, oh, okay, something's going on, because they don't do it that often.
Well, and talk about needing to stock up on toilet paper. When that thing starts blaring on you, like there's like an Amber Alert or something, and like you're asleep and you're like, oh, the Russians are attacking, you know, like. And I had one night I was driving through Schenectady, and my phone starts going, and thankfully I was at a red light, and I've got like one of those phone holder things, so I look over, and it's like a snow squall is about to hit you, and I'm like, what? And then I look up, there's this like Game of Thrones wall of snow coming at me, and I'm like, what the? And then next thing you know, in 5 minutes it was over and done with, but I was like, I'm like, I could use some toilet paper right now. That sound goes off, and you think you're looking for like a kidnapped girl, or you know, I don't know. But yeah, I don't think it's necessary to be like constant. Like, they should just have like an hour every day to talk about coronavirus, right? And if there's any big updates in the last 24 hours, give it to us in that 24. Now, granted, like if they're like science discovers coronavirus is mutated and anybody that has it's gonna die within 10 minutes. Okay, breaking news, breaking news. But telling me like, and I don't. This is gonna sound terrible, but like. Telling me that Tom Hanks tested positive, breaking news. Alright, this is the other thing that kills me about America. You have a couple thousand regular Americans that have come down with coronavirus, and what do? They just go to their apartments or whatever, they quarantine, they wait it out. Celebrities get it, and it becomes a 10 to 20 minute news story, like Tom Hanks and his wife are quarantined in Australia. What's going to happen to them? Well, you know, they're no more special or different than any other American. Like, and those people are just doing the responsible thing, sitting it out, being home. But we got, oh my God, it's like every 10 minutes, we're like, oh, new celebrities got coronavirus. Well, are they in my backyard? Whatever. Like, I don't care.
Yeah. But it's something to talk about, Kev. It's something new.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I give it like another 2 weeks, and then whether coronavirus is over or not, the news media is going to have something new to focus on to pump up the hysteria wagons, and I don't know. I try to fly the middle course, my friend. Be cautious. Don't freak out. Don't take it not seriously. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said. Overall, it's a weird time we're living in. We'll have to see how it plays out, I guess. And it's really funny if you go read World War Z, it starts exactly the same as this did. Really? Great.
Well, and that's like, so the book is different than the movie that came out. But I found one of the scariest or most impactful parts of the movie was like at one point, like the main character and his family are sitting in a car in Philadelphia, and they're in traffic, and you know, it's a city, so there's heavy traffic. You're like, oh, what's going on? And then like you see like a cop fly by on a motorcycle, and they're like, oh, you know.
That was in the trailer or something, right?
Yeah. Well, then next thing you know, the zombies are all over Philadelphia, right? Which, I mean, I don't know how you tell the difference between regular Philly and zombie Philly.
Snap!
But like at one point you see like helicopters flying over the city, and they're like, containment failed. I repeat, containment failed. And I'm like hearing like the other day, like they set up a containment area in New Rochelle, and I'm like, are they telling us everything? You know what I mean? And not was it World War Z, the movie? So the really scary thing about some of these movies like that, or when they remade Red Dawn, is when they like splice together like actual news stories.
God, I hate that. Yeah.
And you're sitting there going,
wait a minute.
No, but it's like, oh my God, like this is actually like in this scenario.
Yeah.
Not that crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, I'll bug out to Old Forge. There's like 20 people up there.
There you go.
Not many zombies to deal with.
Nah, just hunker down.
And the cool thing with World War Z was, if you went that far north, where it's freezing for 6 months of the year, zombies like freeze and they can't come after you. So
okay. There you go.
I know where I'm going.
There you go.
I know where I'm going.
Planning ahead.